Hi, I'm Ty Tuesday. Recently, I made a really dumb choice to try and play 28 games in a month. I came pretty close, didn't get everything done, shoot for the moon, land among the stars and all that, but I decided to do a quick review of everything I played in that period. Buckle up, let's kick things right off. First game on the list was one that I was really excited by. It was Environmental Station Alpha. This game was super sick. Right off the bat, I was completely hyped to play it. Had Smite with me, huge fan of the game, and boss fights are exceptional. Probably the highlight of the game. The exploration is really, really solid. It's got the kind of Metroid exploration elements, but it feels like it's a little... It gives you a good sense of direction without railroading you ever, and that's absolutely huge because I get frustrated by getting lost a lot in these kinds of games. It goes from being a pretty simple, straightforward little story to getting super weird. The difficulty is real high, is the one thing I will warn, especially if you go for the truest of true endings. It gets real ridiculous. You might need a guide if you don't feel like dealing with some severe puzzle bullshit. But, oh man, what a fantastic game. Absolutely recommend it. ESA is just superb. One of my favorite games I got to play on the wheel. It was a kick-ass way to start, and I'm really glad I got to. I definitely give this a 9 out of 10. It's a fucking ride. You should really try it yourself. Absolutely adore it. ESA. Great stuff. Second game on the list was Pikmin 3. This was one that had a ton of charm. Absolutely gorgeous to look at is another thing that's kind of important to note. Really well designed, really well thought out. The exploration was a joy. Using the 3 members of your team as a puzzle, pretty well done. For the most part, it led you around pretty decently. There was strong enough signposting. The only thing that really brought this game down was the day end mechanic. I understand why it's there. It's kind of a way to force urgency, but it really never through my playthrough was something that added value, and almost always was just an inconvenience. I'd be really close to getting something done, then be cut off, and then just take a couple minutes having to walk back the next day. It was really more just an inconvenience and kind of a pain in my ass. I really didn't like it. I wish they would remove it, but I understand it's kind of tradition. It sucks, but it's there. The other big problem with this game is the bosses, just across the board, were kind of garbage. For the most part, it was just slam stuff into it until it falls down, try and use the correct things, pull them away when they're about to strike. It's just really basic and really grindy. Most of them take way too long. The bosses were just kind of bad. So Pikmin, I'd say I'd give probably a 7 out of 10, because despite those few small errors, it was gorgeous, a lot of fun. The exploration was beautiful, everything's super charming. Solid enough game. Alright, next up is Heart and Slash. This is a game I really want to be 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, and I know there's one buried in there, but as of right now, it's not there. The biggest problem with Heart and Slash right now is the second and third level, and it's only 3 levels, are really weak. The third in particular used to be dismal. They did a rework recently that makes it okay. Still not fun to play, still a lot of vertical corridors in that back half. The game is a roguelike that is a character action roguelike, so you get random weapons, random rooms, random bosses, but it's like 2 choices for each floor. I really like the concept. The weapons are pretty satisfying to use. The camera's wonky. It's a little bit of a problem. But the random room generation, and especially with how tanky a lot of enemies are, really dissuades me from wanting to play the game, because a lot of character action games, the design is part of it, and the encounter design. I really want this game to be better. I think it's a really good proof of concept that this kind of game could be made, and it's worth noting that the soundtrack is outstanding. But as of right now, gotta give Heart and Slash a 4 out of 10. I played Mario RPG again, literally perfect out of 10. Still the best game all these years. Recettear is a game with a really awful premise that turns out fantastic. You're the manager of an item shop in a JRPG for the most part, and that part of it is fantastic. Just the simple act of buy and sell and figure out what's going to be going on, how you keep your stock, how you manage everything. Despite being, very my spreadsheets, it ends up being really engaging and a really good time. The downside being there is a dungeon crawling aspect attached, and it is awful. That alone, even though you only really have to do one of them, drags it down pretty severely, especially because if you do want to do full completion of the game, you have to do them, and they're really grindy and sloggy, and they get pretty difficult, but they're just so not fun to do. So I still love it because those aren't really mandatory, so I'm still going to give this an 8 out of 10 because I had a really, really good time with it. Dishonored was a first-person stealth game, and that's a huge score against it because I really don't like those kinds of games. On top of that, the maps were really shitty, and I felt like I was getting lost even when I was going to the objective. Sometimes there were 2 different ways to do things, but it was really unclear. I just had no fun with it whatsoever. I give Dishonored, I'm sorry, I hated it out of 10.
And pray tell, why would I need a pair of skis? I came to get information, not recreation.
Fuck Spy Fox. Fuck Freddy Fish. Fuck Freddy Fish again. I hate Spy Fox an abso-fucking-lutely unreasonable amount. Fuck Spy Fox, fuck Spy Fox, fuck Spy Fox. A Story About My Uncle is a game that it's a first-person platformer, which is already, you're treading on unsteady ground just from the word go. It starts out really neat in the way the narration is done, and the atmosphere is all really nice. It's very, very nice to look at when you're going around at first, and the mechanics feel solid enough. The problem is, after the first level or so, I don't even know what you'd call the level, but it lasts for about an hour and 20 minutes, I'd say, where it was like, okay, cool, we're building in a way that's interesting and fun, and the mechanics are still promising. But after that, it starts just being not necessarily unreasonably demanding, but it just becomes a slog. A lot of the stuff is either just do a really complicated action, or we took the fun toys we just gave you away from you, and then figuring out, okay, what the fuck am I even supposed to shoot anyway? And it's hard to explain, but honestly, it's probably like the back 2/3 of it are so bad. And even the narration, like the key point of what was really selling me on the game at first, just cuts off, like absolutely just cuts off 100% in the back half of the game. And so does the music. And it's just this dreadful, silent, where the fuck do I go puzzle? And it really feels like, okay, we developed the first level and we had, this person worked on it for 2 years, and then the second and third level were done in 3 months because they feel really, really awful. So honestly, Story About My Uncle, 2 out of 10. It's, oh god, the promise it had at first was dashed so hard, and the last hour had me just praying it was over soon. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze fucking owns. It's so good. It's definitely, I would say, a return to form, but Donkey Kong Country Returns also ruled. It does have the same problem the other one does, which is the bosses are awful. Particularly Tropical Freeze, it's, it'll be a case of you have to hit a boss 3 or 5 times, but the patterns they do are so long and so drawn out, and you have to do it in one shot. So even when you get a successful run on some of the later bosses, we're talking like 6 or 7 minutes, and it's a slog. And if you die on the last hit of it, it's just so much shit to redo. So the bosses are awful, but the rest of the game is fan-fucking-tastic. The platforming is really satisfying. Even the cart levels are really good in this game. I had an absolute blast playing it. If there was a way to remove the bosses or just skip them entirely, this game would probably be a 10 out of 10. But as it is, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, and that about does it for part 1. Part 2 should be coming along shortly. If you like this, feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my Patreon. I've got all sorts of stupid rewards and Discord stuff that we're hanging out in. If you hated it, feel free to click the dislike button. I don't really give a shit. Also, feel free to like and subscribe because, hate subscribing, sure, whatever. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.